Hey guys, welcome to Girl Meets Green. My name's Norma, your host or whatever. We're gonna jump right in. I'm not trying to do a bunch of editing, so here we go. Perfect Match, episodes 9 through 12. We're wrapping it up. So jumping into episode 9, Chloe and Mitchell have won. They went on their date. He told her he don't want a relationship right now, which, like, go home. It's the perfect match. Like, what are we confused about? So Nick and Chloe put Diamond and Bartice on a date. They bring back freaking Bartice, and I don't understand. Like, dead ass. So they bring Bartice back, which I'm like, you could have brought Zay back. Like, Calvin. Her and Calvin probably would have been so funny together. But anyways, yeah, they brought back Barstool, and that's where we at. And then, of course, Chloe brought back Shane. They seem to be on the up and up, you know. She apologized to him. She let him know, like, it's done. I just had to make sure it was done. So while they are on their dates, the crew is hanging out. We have Damien, who ends up skinny dipping into the pool, showing everybody his booty after showing everybody his stripper moves, because he used to be a stripper. Who knew? And then Francesca starts making out with Carousel, which, like, what? And here's where, like, oh my gosh. Okay, we're going back to this whole, like, bisexual thing and how the show, I honestly feel like, was just, like, you know, trying to be able to say, like, we're inclusive, we including the people, but then, like, being so stereotypical. Francesca and Carousel being so stereotypically bisexual. And I do this because, I mean, it's like that stereotypical, like, and I don't know, I guess it's fine if you want to do it their way. Let me not, because, you know, everything is defined by you and however you want it to. But where it's an issue is, like, unless you've spoken about, like, open relationships, if you're on here making matches to have, like, romantic relationships with one other person, like, that's not fair. You know, like, so she's making out with Carousel. She basically treats Abby like, why is she tripping, blah, blah, blah. Where Abby's like, we're partners. And I feel like the tone of the show was almost like, well, this is Abby's first, like, female, real, possible relationship. Like, she's never been in a serious relationship with a female. And so, like, it seemed like they were trying to make it seem like, oh, she just doesn't get the culture of, like, dating women. I don't know. Nobody would be cool with that. Whether you're dating a guy or a girl or a guy dating a guy, like, whoever, if you're in, like, a committed relationship, no one would be okay with that. So, like, why is the fact that you guys are girls, like, we just do that, but we're friends. Obviously, she's with Joey. I'm, you know, getting to know you. No. So anyways, yeah, it just felt so stereotypical that I was like, I hate that, like, they brought this representation on the show, but then showed it in, like, I don't know. Because, again, it's, like, no judgment and not saying, like, you can't do that. But because of stereotypes, like, you're only reinforcing people's ideas that, like, you know, it's just girls wanting to kiss girls. And it's, you know, like, they want to have a husband but have a girlfriend, too. Can I just say, I don't understand. I refuse to believe everybody is just falling for this whole, like, fake connection thing, right? Because, like, you could be my match, but I want to explore. Like, all that tells me is, like, you're just trying to play the game. You ain't trying to, like, actually match with me. You're not actually interested in me. It's just, like, I guarantee you stay, you know? And that's where, because then there's other conversation besides the sexuality conversation, which is how the black women on the show are being treated. Now, I will say, I agree with it in the sense of, like, they were put on this show to fail. What I'm on the fence about is people like, oh, they keep doing them dirty. Look how they keep doing them. And it's like, no, because the thing is, like, okay, they could have fooled them to get on this show, right? They could have thought they were going to have a bunch of, like, you know, beautiful men of color, or just men that would want women of color in general. And, like, it was going to be great, right? But then you get to the show and you see that it's not. And that's when, like, I feel like at that point, it became their choice. Like, all the women that were brought back and the things they did, you no longer can be like, oh, how dirty they're doing them, how dirty they're doing them. Because they're choosing to be done dirty. Like, and is that victim blaming? I hope it's not. But what I mean is like, okay, Colony is the perfect example of a person who like did not let that happen. She was put on the show, put with ridiculous matches, didn't find a good match, and was like, okay, bye. You know, like she wasn't trying to stay on the show, trying to like finesse and finagle. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas you have Sophie Ann. And she's beautiful. She's awesome. All of these black women were great, right? Nobody's knocking that. But whereas Colony was like, none of these dudes actually want me. I don't want any of these dudes. I'm going home. And Sophie matches with Zay. And now, honestly, I think this was mostly editing where they made it seem like Zay just like they detested each other. They were both, all the comments they made was like, we just ended up together. So like, whatever. And like, just uninterested. But again, it's like, she chose to stay with Zay, even though that was the vibe, which I've seen them talk about stuff on TikTok and stuff, like on their own TikToks, and it seems like maybe they had more of a connection that just wasn't shown. So we won't count Zay, because it sounds like she had kind of a connection with him that just wasn't shown. So she stays with Zay. But then she switches to Will, I think. I think she ends up choosing Will. Whoever she chooses was not interested in her at all. It was clear it was strategic. I refuse to believe that these women really thought these men were interested in them when it's like they showed zero interest in you up until this point. And it's clear that it's strategic because everybody else is starting to match up. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I mean by that. Is like, okay, at that point, they were just choosing to stay with these men, you know? Like, no, I think she chose Chase. Yeah, she chose Chase, and I think Chase ended up not choosing her or something like, but anyways, my point is that's where I'm on the fence. It's like, I could understand them being bamboozled into being on the show, but then like the rest is up to them. Diamond, I feel like Diamond's style was more like, you know what, F it, like they're gonna play the game, I'll play the game too, like I'm just being here having fun, meeting people, getting to know people, you know? And then Izzy was just a young girl. Izzy was just a young girl trying to have fun. So episode 9 ends actually with a bunch of people leaving. So we know that the last episode ended with Damien and Inez matched up. And Inez kind of clearly sees he's still into Francesca. She has an open conversation with him being like, you know, there's toxic love, there's good love. I feel like y'all, it's toxic love, but like, you do you. I'm just letting you know what I think. I wish you the best. So she's, I believe, the first to leave. And then Mitchell decides to shoot his shot with Georgia. That's who he decided, like, the only other connection I have, which it's like, how? Because Georgia and Dom are like, right now. So like, what? But okay, give it a shot. And you know, Georgia's like, yeah, me and Dom are solid, no. So then he leaves. And then thankfully, Will gets pieced out. He tried to get with Francesca. I think that Will missed his mole experience and almost wanted to like make this that. And so he was like, this is a competition. Like I'm with the person that like will look like the best match with me. Like he was still in the mole mode because the way he was acting was just weird, out of pocket, almost a little bit scary. But he leaves. And good riddance, goodbye to both Mitchell and Will, because what are you doing? Like, what was your plan here? So our final matches at the end of this episode are Chloe and Shane, Joey and Carousel, Fran and Damien, Bartice and Abby, and Georgia and Dom. Those are our final 5 matches. And we are jumping into episode 10. I'll be real with y'all. I don't even remember the challenge or who won it. But there is a couple that has chosen to go to the boardroom. And the different thing here is they have to choose a couple to go on a date. So like for the first time, it's like they're choosing somebody for that couple versus just like random people in the house. They choose Bartice and Abby. Bartice gets put on a date with LC. Abby gets put on a date with Nick. Nick's coming back to the house. If I'm being honest with you, episode 10 felt a bit like a filler. I didn't get why we continued this whole like, you know, boardroom and separating people and matches. And it's like, look, everybody, for the most part, everybody there was already a match. So like if the people who came in didn't match with that specific person they went on a date with, how are they finding matches? Because everybody else is matched up. You know, like it didn't make sense at all. So this episode felt a bit fillerish. We have Georgia and Chloe. like write raps for their dudes, Shane and Dom, which is super cute, super funny. In this episode, we end with, I'm sorry that I can't remember much of episode 10, but that goes to show you nothing too important happened. Our matches in episode 10 are Joey and Carousel, duh, Dom and Georgia, duh, Fran and Damien, Abby and Bartise, and Chloe and Shane, and Nick and Elsie. So we have 6 matches now. Yeah, we have 6 matches now. This episode actually ends with, now, at first I was like, Elsie is messy. But then I was like, well, maybe it was the way they edited it, and like, we don't know what context that conversation was being had in. But she brings up the Chloe thing, and she's like, well, why did you leave? Why did you come back? You know, like, she's getting the story. She gets the story, and she's like, ooh, I would be insecure about that. She's like, why didn't you just choose me if I'm the one? Like, she's like putting stuff in his ear. And obviously this like starts to upset Shane, and he starts to feel these feelings. And so he goes to Chloe and starts this whole like fight and argument about how she jumped into the pool on purpose and got him wet. And she's like, I didn't. I thought you were gone by then. Like, and he insists she was like celebrating her relationship with Mitchell, and she's like, no, like, he just threw me into the pool, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, what'd you do after? And she kind of just gets over it and walks away. Everybody's like, go talk to her, like, you know, your pride's more important than your girl's more important than your pride, blah, blah, blah. And he tries to go talk to her. She's kind of like, let's just talk in the morning. I want to go to bed. He's flipping out, as Shane does, you know, one of his roid rage moments. And I guess they're able to calm him down enough to like stay the night. And then in the morning he wakes up, he's like, I was freaking out. I got insecure. It's all my fault. Done. And yeah, that's how that goes. I was just like, Chloe, run. Chloe, no. Like, tell this man it's over. In episode 11, we continue with this whole filler situation. They bring back all of the old contestants to try to mess with these couples. It's dumb. I don't like, why are we doing this? Can we just pick our perfect match? This could have been 2 episodes shorter and still got the same ending, I guess. So Will comes back. Obviously, he's pushing for Fran. Fran is like, not Francesca. Is Fran. Doesn't know what to do with herself. Doesn't know what she wants, really. Which, personally, this is why I believe that her and her boyfriend now were together for the show. That's what Savannah says, and Fran ends up posting how they weren't. But it's confusing because she posts this, like, story thing, and she's like, no, we were not together on the show. You have to consider the show was filmed a year ago, but we have been together a long time. And I'm like, a year isn't a long time. Like, and I think we all learn that as we get older. And especially not a long time when you consider if she was supposedly single on this show from a year ago, within that year, she would have had to met her boyfriend or rekindled an old flame or pursued something with a friend, whatever. Either way, start that dating process, decide to be together. So you wouldn't have even been together a full year by now. So it's like, what do you mean a long time? It hasn't been a long time. So I'm inclined to believe that she was dating him. And she decided to play this role and, you know, whatever. Because I believe in this episode, she ends up leaving. Damien asks her to be his girlfriend, and she's just like, I don't think we would work on the outside, fake tears and all of that. And so she decides to go home. Now, the part with Fran leaving had me rolling because Savannah was having the best time about it. Carousel is in tears, like she's dying. And Savannah's just looking at her like, why are you crying? I don't know, it was just comedy because Savannah was just like, girl. And this episode, Bartise has been showing his true colors this whole time, right? We get the scenes with him and Inez talking about, I picked you up off the ground. How could you do this? Like, weirdo behavior, clown behavior, corny boy behavior, grow up behavior. And now we get this wonderful scene with Abby. So basically, him and Abby are supposed to be solid, but suddenly Bartise is like, pursuing things with Izzy, because remember, everyone's back in the house. So now he's kind of interested in Izzy. He's on the fence about Abby. Problem Abby had was that the entire day, he's reassuring her, even after his date with Elsie or whatever, like, he's like, you know, me and you are solid. Like, me and you are good. So he's basically telling Abby, like, it's me and you. Like, this is solid. And then suddenly is like... I don't know, I also want to date Izzy. And so Abby's just kind of like, but why didn't you say that? You know, because she says in her confessionals, she's like, I've been turning down every dude that been trying to talk to me, been trying to holler at me. I haven't even been giving them the time of day. Like, I've literally just been like, walking away. And so, you know, she's kind of like, why wouldn't you say that earlier? Like, that doesn't make sense. And so he tries to push it back on her, being like, oh, like, you're upset about da-da-da. Like, trying to gaslight her into believing, like, she's upset for a reason she's not. Or, like, she's, like, hurt because she wanted him so badly. When all she literally was saying was, like, you should have said that as soon as you knew, versus spending all these hours telling me we're good, only to leave me, like, here to figure out my own shit. So then what he does, he uses a conversation they had in private against her, which, by the way, bigger issue here. Let's get into they had a conversation. She basically didn't want to do, like, sexual things because the cameras were there in the room, and she thought about what her mom would think, her sister would think, da-da-da. He turns around and uses that against her to basically say, like, here's the thing. You care about what people think. I don't. Because she's like, you're going to look like such an ass for doing this. Like, she's like, you're going to look like an ass. And he's basically like, I don't care what I look like. You're the one who cares what you look like. You care what your mom thinks, what your sister thinks, da-da-da. And she is like, her face drops and she's like, I can't believe you would use that conversation against me. Which is gross on so many levels. First of all, yeah, don't be that person. Even if it's not a sexual conversation, don't, like, what people tell you in private, you don't turn around and smack them in the face with it when you're mad at them, right? Not only that, he switches up the context to try to make himself feel better. When what the context was, I didn't want to have sex with you because, like, I don't want that on TV for my family to see. Totally reasonable, for one. And for two, it is gross that it seems like that was like not a turn off to him, but like a deterrent. Like, he kind of was like, that's lame. And it's like, ew, you're gross. That makes you gross. So we're jumping into episode 12, and I believe it picks up with the Abby and Bartise situation. And, like, Izzy comes to interrupt, and Abby's kind of just like, you can have him, I'm out. And Izzy's like, oh, she's overreacting. Like, I think she's doing a bit much. And it's like, baby, just because you out here letting these dudes do whatever, don't mean other people have to. I'm sorry. It's not a judgment. I'm not saying she's wrong for it. What I am saying is she's wrong for trying to, like, almost bash another woman for not being okay with what he did, you know, regardless of the reason. But of course he makes it seem, and so does Izzy, like, oh, she was hurt by him not picking her, when it's like, no, she's pissed that he lied and made her waste her time not talking to other people. Like, what you mean? Final matches: Joey and Carousel, Georgia and Dom, Shane and Chloe, Bartise and Izzy, and Nick and LC. These are all cool matches. Bartise and Izzy seem like just a joke to me. I don't know what that match is about. But the others, I can, like, kind of see, you know, why the personalities mesh. This episode is spent with the matches, like, on a date, talking about their futures, you know, like what things look like, what they want to do, etc., etc. On this date, we witnessed Joey proposing to Carousel, which, like, honestly, I couldn't really stand them, but, like, I think it's weird that just a few days before that, Joey was talking about how he wasn't sure if he wanted to be married, and then popped the question. So Joey asked her to marry him. She says yes, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. I think we have to wait a little bit longer for them to be able to talk about it. But we'll see who's still together and who's not. So from those dates, we basically move on to the whole, like, judgment part. So everyone that's been on the show is back. All the couples are, like, sat down. We're gonna talk about, like, Nick's basically gonna talk to each of them, you know, like, oh, like, what did you go through with your relationship? And then, like, end it with, like, so do you believe you're the perfect match? And they say yes or no. Two couples who say no, like, they're not the perfect match, like, because, like, it's just too soon, is obviously Bartise and Izzy, and then Elsie and Nick. And they both kind of say the same thing of, like, it would be a lie to be like, yes, we are, when, like, we just got together. Abby mentions how, like, how he switched up really quick, was, like, on the Abby train, and then suddenly was like, oh, I don't know, whatever, and chose Izzy. And Izzy, again, is like, I know that hurt, but, and it's like, shh, it's not your battle. It's not your fight. Stop. You're doing too much. You're doing too much now. Because that had me heated. It's like, she has already established it wasn't that she was hurt. It was like her time was wasted, which, how do you not see that, you know? She's like, it's not that I was hurt. It was just, he could have said that earlier. You know, like, I could have talked to people. And then, of course, Chase jumps in to defend Bartise about his quick switch. Let's keep that in mind. Everybody make a mental note. He defends Bartise and says, no one should judge anyone on quick switches. That's what we were all doing here. We were all here trying to find a match, blah, 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 blah. Right? So nobody should be getting on his case about quick switches. Lock that into your mind. Joey and Carousel obviously say they're a match. Shane and Chloe say they're a match, which then prompts Mitch to say, like, no, they're not. I don't think so, blah, blah. Because Nick is kind of asking the crowd throughout, what do you guys think? Anyone have any thoughts? And Mitch is just like, oh, Shane is so similar to me and we didn't work out, so, like, I'm just not buying it. He's going off, which was really weird because it was like, where's that coming from? You didn't want her. You literally told her, I don't want a relationship. Automatically went on the hunt for Georgia. Like, why are you mad? Dom and Georgia say yes, they're a perfect match. They talk about how much they've grown. Everybody kind of agrees that they really grew in their relationship from like how it started to where they've gotten. Chase, of course, is like bullshit, da-da-da-da. You know what I think Chase's problem is? Chase is not used to people just not wanting him. So when people don't, he's that guy in the street that's like, hey, ma, like, you're beautiful. Like, yeah. And she's like, not interested. And he's like, oh, well, you was ugly anyways. Da-da-da. And just starts talking hella shit about her. That is Chase. That's why he gave Carousel a 1 on the kiss, because he was mad that she ended up with Joey anyways. And then the same thing here where he's like trying to knock down Dom and Georgia. And like, so I told you, keep in mind the quick switch up comments for Bartise. But then he's like, oh, you said you love Francesca and then you were with Georgia. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, yeah, who switches that quick? And it's like, well, according to you, it's okay to switch that quick. And so Georgia thankfully puts him in his place. Like, basically tells him he's a clown. She's like, you just want to start shit. Like, you corny. No one believed you were genuine. Like, you're a clown. That's it. So the last step, everyone goes into the boardroom and votes on who they think the perfect match is. I believe the only people who vote are like all of the people who've been in the house besides the couples. And in a twist of events, because honestly, I didn't want them to win, but I was like, obviously they're going to win as Joey and Carousel because they've been together the longest, blah, blah, blah. But in a beautiful, beautiful twist of events, Dom and Georgia win. They're shocked. Everybody's shocked. Everybody's shocked. Everyone thought for sure Joey and Carousel were going to get it. Especially because they conveniently announced their engagement right before voting, which seemed a bit strategic if you ask me. But yeah, that's how the show ends. They win a trip to wherever they want to go for a week. And that's what we get with the perfect match. I can't wait for tea to spill. I forget whose TikTok it was that they were basically like, oh yeah, I think it was Carousel's. Like, yeah, the last episodes are out, but you gotta give us a few days before we can talk about it or whatever. So I guess we gotta wait before they can talk about, I guess, like what's happened since or comment on certain things. And hopefully there's enough tea to spill where I can make like a cast updates video like I did for Love is Blind. But I hope you enjoyed catching up and talking about the end of this season with me. Like the video if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the winners, where you think the couples are at now, and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.